Welcome to the part 2 of chapter 6. In this lecture, we are going to discuss about Derozio and Young Bengal. Okay, so in the first part, we discussed how these social cultures people started to raise voice against it and rationally. So in the first part, we have discussed about Raja Rammohun Roy. In this lecture, we are going to discuss about Derozio, uh, then Devendranath Tagore, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, and some prominent endings will give at the what are the reforms happen in the Western India. Okay, so the first, the Derozio of the Young Bengal. So he was who was Derozio? Derozio was he was from the Anglo-Indian, like the relationship for him was considered as Anglo-Indian. Why Anglo-Indian? What does it mean? He was an Anglo-Indian. If we say, what does it mean? It means like his ancestor was the mixture of Indian and the European in nature, like from the UKs and all. Okay, so for that kind of people, we use the term Anglo-Indian. Okay, and he used to teach in uh, he taught in Hindu colleges, and the rational behavior, the rational thinking what he stated in the Hindu college made him that kicked him out of the college. So the, the term that he started to raise between the students was equality in nature, that the people should be equal. So he learned what was from the French Revolution. He he was inspired from the French Revolution nature, and he started to raise those terms in his education to the student. That was not liked by the most of the people, even if the side of the Britishers, it was not liked because he was raising the term of liberty, equality, and the freedom between the people, that all the Indians and the Britishers should be treated equally. And in the case of equality as well, also within the Indian tradition also he raised the term like women and men should be treated equally. uh, Women should get education also as compared with the men. So those things were much early for that period, that people would accept it. So he was completely against the Indian people and the Britishers as well, or the people who were in the favor of Britishers. So uh, he was kicked out from the college from, during his tenure, and he died early. He died in the age of 22 with the disease cholera. So cholera now it's not that much dangerous as compared with that period. Okay, so what was it there? I just give a glimpse of it. All those things mentioned here. So a radical trend arose among the Bengali intellectuals during the late 1820s and the 1830s, and it was more modern than even Raja Rammohun Roy, and was known as the Young Bengal Movement. So what happened? Like Raja Rammohun Roy also raised the voice in the favor of it, but if we compare the Raja Rammohun Roy society structure with the Derozio society structure, it was more modern in nature as compared with Raja Rammohun Roy. Okay, so that's what it is mentioned here, that it was more modern that compared with the Raja Rammohun Roy's traditions. Its leader and inspired were the young its leader and inspired were the young Anglo-Indian Henry Vivian Derozio, born in 1809. For those things, Young Bengal Movement, the Young Bengal Movement group that was formed during that period, that was inspired mainly from the Derozio only, who was an Anglo Indian. Okay, so he taught in Hindu college from 1826 to 1831, and he drew his inspiration, as I have told, that from the French Revolution, from the Western thoughts. He drew his inspiration regarding the liberty, equality, and all. So during the French period, the revolution started with respect to the economical perspective mainly. Mainly, it started with the economical perspective between the rich and the poor people. Okay, same thing. He kicked out those terms into his education, and started to telling his student regarding the favor of the liberty, equality, and freedom, and should be the truth in nature. Okay, so he was the first nationalist poet of modern India at that time, and he was the case modern in intellectual literature. It's the modern term for him. It was used because he used those modern industrialization was going into the period. So he used those term fraternity, not fraternity, equality, liberties, and all during the in the Indian context. Okay, so that's why the term modern for him is used for that period. Okay, so he as a first nationalist. So he was removed from the Hindu college in 1831 because of his radicalism and died of cholera soon on the young age of 20, at the age of 22. The Derosians attacked old and descended customs, rights, and the traditions. So why people were against him? The only reason people started to be against him because they were started to raise voice against the old rituals that is followed from the centuries on the rational basis. Same thing happened with Raja Rammohun Roy as well. Okay, so the people, the orthodox Hindu people didn't like him. Okay, so passionately advocated women's right and demanded education for them, but they did not succeed in creating the social movement because social condition was not yet ripe for these ideas to be flourished, and most of the ideas were in bookish in nature. So what does it mean? It means like whatever the thoughts he was telling, whatever the topics or the thoughts he was telling, it was mainly bookish in nature. It was mainly in bookish in nature. Why does it bookish in nature? Because society was not ready to accept those terms. Okay, uh, for them for them women education was a completely a new term, was completely new term. Even getting education for men was little bit difficult, and he stated the term as on the term of equality he started to ask for the women education as well. Okay, so that's why those terms were mainly bookish in its nature for that period. Okay, so that was not that much flourish for that time, but uh, those thinking only kicked the next generation to raise the voice against the ill treatment to the women, and in the favor of, and raise the voice in the favor of women's education, that we'll see in the Devendranath and all. Okay, Devendranath and all their views. Okay, so they forwarded the thinking of Raja Rammohun Roy and the Derozios. So that we'll see just now. Even so, Derosians carried forward the Raja Rammohun Roy traditions of educating the people in social, economic, and political questions through newspapers, pamphlets, and the public associations. So there's like the Derosians, the students of Derozio, they started to publish the papers with respect to the topics that were inspired from the Raja Rammohun Roy and the Derosians kind of thoughts. So the divisions of company charters, the charters acts that were being launched during that period. So they were raising questions on it, and they were asking to revise those charters whatever being launched by the Britishers and all. Freedom of press, they demanded better treatment of Indian labor in the British colonies and abroad, protection of rights from oppressive jamindars, employments of Indians at higher grade jobs as well. Okay, so on the terms of equality and all, they started to raise voice. Surendranath Banerjee once said, like, the terms that he used, he comes as the father of race in the sense like he excites the people with the thoughts that he emerged, the thoughts that he took from the French Revolution and all, and he gave those thought to the he taught those thought to his students. Okay, so the Surendranath Banerjee, the famous leader of the Indian nationalist movement, described Derosians as the pioneers of the modern civilization of Bengal, who like he gave the birth for the civilization, the terms modern civilization, the questions related to intellectual thinking and all, rational thinking and all. He gave the birth for it. The conscript father of our race, whose virtues will excite veneration and whose failing will be treated with the gentlest consideration. Okay, so now we will discuss about Devendranath Tagore. Okay, after that we'll take Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar in the next part. So he Debendranath Tagore was the person who considered as a revitalization of the Brahmo Samaj. Brahmo Samaj was started by the Raja Rammohun Roy. After that, it was not that much famous or the prominent, but again he revitalized it. So the person who revitalized the Brahmo Samaj will be known as the Debendranath Tagore. And who is Debendranath Tagore? He is the father of Rabindranath Tagore. Okay, so if you see Rabindranath Tagore and Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, they both gave birth to the phonetics, the letters of the Bengalis and all, and still child from the birth they start to learn those letters in the Bengali term that was created by them only. This Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, they made it more easy. Like the structure of those letters was made more easy to learn and to understand. That was the main key term that is given to the Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. He wrote Bengali primer that still is being used today. So that was the term that we should remember always. Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar was the key prominent person who gave the Bengali primer, and that's still being used today, and more easier in more easier way. Okay. So Debendranath Tagore, he continued to he revitalized the Brahmo Samaj. In 1839, he founded the Tattva Bodhini Sabha to propagate Raja Rammohun Roy idea. He attracted the followers of Raja Rammohun and Derozio and other independent thinkers like Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar and Akshay Kumar Das. So further he formed for the Tattva Bodhini Sabha, and its organ, the Tattva Bodhini Patrika, promoted a systematic study of India's past in Bengali uh, language. In 1843, Rabindranath reorganized the Brahmo Samaj and gave new life into it. The Samaj actively supported the movement for widow remarriage, abolition of polygamy, women's education, improvements of rights condition, and tolerance. So it was like uh, he used that platform of Brahmo Samaj as thought of Raja Rammohun Roy by giving the power to the women. Okay, so that through those organization he started to support we, especially with respect to the women and the society's cultural things that was being carried from the past as a leverage, which was not logically correct. Okay, so we'll take this Pandit Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar in the next part. Please go through this video like for the Pandit Chandra Vidyasagar till the end. That will be the end of chapter 6. For any doubts, please have a comments on this video below. I don't think this is just a part of a theoretical in nature, so I don't think there will be any doubt for it. Okay, thank you.